do this. Welcome back to Light Talk, where the paranormal and the supernatural is a part of our everyday life. We have an amazing guest with us tonight. So, as normal, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, I welcome you and go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Thank you. It's really an honor to be here with everybody and with your audience. My name is Gretta. I tell people just call me Greta. And what have I been doing lately? I've been having, when you said paranormal, so that's kind of my thing. I'm into paranormal. I'm into supernatural. I do remote transformational healing with people. I've been a best-selling author. I've got um, an album out that's dealing kind of meditative album. It was Grammy considered. So it's called In Silence. So I hope everybody will check that out. We can give the audience some information about that. And then we'll just talk, Dana. We'll just talk about what experiences we've had. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
ready.
All right. I am ready too. So, I mean, you're a healer, you're a medium, and you're a channeler, right?
Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
realm of beings. I channel the
Yeah.
realm of beings. Yeah, yeah.
So that is exciting to me. And being a medium is very exciting to me too. Those are two things I'm working towards myself.
Oh,
So
I think
working
you're
on getting that
already
going.
there because that's what I'm feeling about you. You're what do you call humble? I think you're humble, Dana. I think you're humble, but I think you've got that in your own right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, we're going to be more seasoned, getting more experience with it, more.
Are you?
Yeah.
Uh,
That's what I want that. So I'm going for that. That's my thing. That's my thing.
all
So
right.
yeah. Yeah. So tell me some things about some experiences you've had with the any of this paranormal mediumship, any of your channeling, or
Well,
tell me anything and everything.
oh, I love that. I love that. This is going to be a fun session, I can tell. Quite a few people will call me. People call me for various things for help. A lot of times people are calling me for health things, but they call me also to clean out their houses because they feel they have ghosts or they have low vibrational beings in there. So I've had experiences with them and experiences with different species that are sentient beings, but they're not human, in various realities. So, like we were talking about the grays. Yeah, I saw him popping up
I
there.
agree. There he is.
And I had an experience with a gray, but it was more of a sexual experience. And I thought it was my daughter. I said, "Where's my daughter?" It was when she was about 2 or 3 years old. I had that experience, and I've had experiences with other beings. I remember once I was dealing with. I had gone into another reality, and I was dealing with a species that it stands up. It's a lot of the species, they're so tall, that this species was about 9 feet tall, but he looked very insect-like. And I was in a clear box hovering over the place where I was supposed to check out. And before I knew it, I realized I was on the ground and not in my box. The clear box was supposed to protect me, right? So then I knew it. Here I am down on the ground, and here comes this huge being coming up to me and saying, I don't look at them as being odd, even though they look different from me, because I recognize when they look at me, I don't look like them, so they think I'm odd looking. Okay.
Exactly.
So therefore I don't get caught
Exactly.
up in
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So he came up to me and grabbed me, brought me to his chest. He was so tall, and I'm only 5'4". So I told him, I said, this relationship that you really want to have is not going to work. Here I am, a different species from you. I don't think that it's compatible. So we talked about that, and then he kind of let me go. But that was one of my experiences. When I go off world, then I get an opportunity to deal with other species, like the realm of beings that I have. I love them so dearly, but there are species that they're pure thought. They don't have corporal bodies. And there are other species like that out in the universe that it's their only thought. No corporal bodies attached to them whatsoever. So you're going to see different types of species. You'll see them very tiny. Like right now, I have a young woman that I call it the collective. They look like a black cloud, but they're tiny, tiny little individuals. And they always move as a collective. Because once I went to the county jail here in Chicago, because I'm from
Mhm.
Chicago, and I was working on my doctorate in clinical psych. So I was sitting there waiting to talk to this psychologist to see if I could do one of my practicums with him, okay, at the county jail. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I see this collective. It looks like a swarm of bees. That some you see the collective swarm, but you don't see the individual bees. So that's what they're like. They're black, and they move it like a cloud. They just move like that back and forth as a group. So because they were attracted to me, I wound up going back home and looking and seeing that they traveled with me to my house. I told them, I said, you know what? You all have two choices. You can leave, or you can stay here with me, and I'm going to move you out of here, and we're going to take you. So that's it. I think they left because they didn't stay up in here. In my house, I have other beings. I tell them, I said, this is it, you guys. I know you like staying in this house with me, but this is what you have to do. Don't show yourselves to me. I do not want to go around the corner of my house walking around a corner, and I meet you there, like that.
Right.
So I told him, I said, this is what we're going to do. You can stay up here as long as you want, but don't show yourselves to me. And we're going to be cool. Everything's going to be real cool about that, you know. So, but there are other people. I know a friend of mine, she told me, she said, I'm not spending the night in your house anymore. I said, really? She said, yeah. I said, oh, okay. Because she had to watch my daughter for me. I was going somewhere. And she said, Greta, I love you dearly, but I'm not going to do that anymore. If you want me to watch Kai, you've got to bring Kai to me. But to stay up in this house, no way. So there's
She
a
had a
lot.
lot of,
Yeah, yeah, but it
yeah.
didn't bother me. Except, what was really funny? I was asleep, and I heard say, Greta, Greta, and it woke me up. I was so, I wasn't angry because I don't really get like angry, angry. But I said, what? You woke me up out of my sleep, and I usually start my work at 5 o'clock in the morning. See,
Oh,
working
yes.
with people, yeah. So, I want to
Mhm.
get my sleep. I told him, I said, don't call me again. If you call me again, I'm coming to get you, and you're not going to be able to stay here. So that's it, point blank. And then about a month later, I heard my name again, but it was a different voice this time. And I
Uh-huh.
said, no way. I said, I told you, don't bother me. I need my sleep. Leave me alone. I said, if you do it again, I'm going to come and get you. I said, now you're another one. I said, you didn't pick up from the last one that tried that, you know. So I just talk to him and tell him, you know, go away, you know, things like that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of endless I got all kinds of stories, Dana.
Just keep going. Keep going. I want to hear them all. I want to hear them all. You know, it's just so intriguing to me. So keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah. Keep going. Oh,
Keep going.
there's a species that you won't be aware of them doing it, but you're going to see it. Now, this is what I mean by that. Like when you wake up in the morning, you may see a big long scratch going across your chest or scratch on your leg, but they're usually long scratches, not just a little short scratch, like maybe you scratched up against something, but it's a long scratch. And they are female in gender, and they just go around scratching people, you know.
What's the point of that?
Oh, I figured it out. What the point of it is, they have long fingernails. So when they scratch you with the long fingernails, guess what? They're picking up your energy. That's how they take your energy for themselves to use it.
Oh, no, 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 no. Uh-uh. No, 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 no. No, not allowed. Nope. Stay away.
One day,
No.
one morning, my daughter woke up. She came into my room. She said, "You know, I got a big, long scratch over my breast." I said, "Really?" And then I said, "Let me check myself." So I checked, and I had one too. I said, "Ah." I said,
Nope.
there's one of them up in here. So, you know, I'm in trance all the time. I never come out of trance anymore. Like while I'm talking to you right now, I'm in trance, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I had to look for her. And then we take her, we wrap them up, and then I call them, they're wonderful, wonderful angels. They're about 9 feet tall and they're a dark gray color. They're not black, they're dark gray. And
Hmm.
I have dark gray dragons because the energy knows that I love dragons. You know, a friend of mine, when she sees a dragon, she says, "Oh, I got to get it for Greta." You know, next time I'm on, I'm going to show you my dragons, but
Okay.
my play dragons. But
Okay.
so they are the ones that really come and help me. So when I have an entity that needs to be removed, they will be the set that comes. Hundreds of them, millions of them. It depends on the work that I'm doing, that they will come, you know, especially when we clean out a person's house. Like some people use sage. And
Hmm.
I don't do any of that because the sage will only go to a certain degree. So we go into every cell of everything that's in the house. We'll do the
Okay. Yeah.
outside. We do every blade of grass, every every piece of concrete, little pebbles that you use. We go in there. We clean out all of that because um, they're very interesting. They can, and what I mean by I'm talking about low vibrational beings. That they can make themselves extremely tiny, very microscopic, you know. So
That makes
they can
sense.
go into a cell, you know, Dana, and sit down there. So we go into the cells themselves and clean that out. So everything in your house is clean. The water pipes, the toilet, your refrigerator, we clean out everything, even the air that you're breathing, because they can sit on air molecules and just float through your house. So we clean them all out. So that's one of the things I do. And so I've met different different types of species. Hmm. Yeah.
Was the most dangerous situation you've been in, and with what being?
When I first learned this work, I learned, and let me qualify that. I learned how to go remote by Dr. Irene Hickman. She was a osteopathic medical doctor and a hypnotherapist. Um, she's no longer in this reality. She made her transition, I would say, maybe 10, 15 years ago. But just a magnificent woman. And a friend of mine, Lester, he said, Greta, I want you to take this class. And, I wanted to give him support. So I said, okay, I will. He said, but she's doing an introductory. She's going to talk about it. So I went to the meeting and I sat there and I'm going, I've got to take this class. You know when you just need to do something. And I said, and then she said it's going to be $300. Well, see, at that time, I'm a single mother. I'm trying to keep our household going, our house and everything. And I'm going, man, $300. That was like, you could have said I need to give her $1 million. That's where I was. And so I
Mhm.
said, Greta, you've got to take this class. You've got to. So then I went into pay Peter, rob Peter and pay Paul type thing. So I
Mhm.
paid a little bit here and a little bit there until I had accumulated the $300 and I paid it to go to the class. And she
Nice.
asked us, she went around the room, there were about 20 of us. There were some people from all over the country. Somebody even came in from Alaska. And
Wow.
she went around the room. This is a long way to get to the answer that but I think it all fits. Uh, so she went around the room and I was listening to everybody. They were giving these lofty reasons why they wanted to take the class. I didn't have a lofty reason. I just knew I was supposed to take it, but I knew I had to say something.
Mhm.
And I know that since a child, I was working with people who had made their transition or who had died. I knew when people were going to die, that type of thing. So when she got to me, I said, well, I want to help people who have made their transition to go to the light, as I was calling it then. So I said, phew, I got through that. Well, anyway, she showed us, we used to work in pairs. You work with, so if you got into trouble, the other person would be able to work and get you out. That's what it was. So she recognized that sometimes you're going to wind up in situations that are not going to be the easiest to deal with. So she felt it was better to do two people. So that's how I learned with them. But I only learned depossession and what that was to remove dark entities, elementals, probes, implants that are inside your body, to scan them off. I learned how to do that and to deal with those earthbounds. And earthbounds are people that died,
Mhm.
but they don't want to go to the light. Some people might call the light heaven. Some people might call it, I call it a transitional portal. Um, and they don't want to go. So they'll jump into us. Like Dr. Hickman told us a story about there was a gentleman walking down the street going home from his work or wherever. There was another
Yeah.
gentleman driving a car. When she was explaining it, I saw it took place at night. Because when you start explaining things to me, I can see it.
That's
Yeah.
me. That's
Yeah.
me.
See, I told
Yeah.
you, you're humble. You're humble, Dana. And he was intoxicated. And because of his intoxication, he rammed the car into a light pole and died. So he gets up out of the car frightened, disoriented, wants to have some orientation. So this man is walking down the street. And so the man who died, who is now earthbound, jumps into him. When you get an earthbound like that, sometimes they can influence your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was the other gentleman who just happened to be walking, well, no, not happen. Everything happens for a reason. But he was never a drinker. He never drank any alcohol whatsoever. So once the earthbound jumped into him, then he started drinking. And his family was really worried because then he started exhibiting alcoholic behaviors, you know. And it took 3 years, and they knew something was wrong, but they didn't know what it was. But finally, they got hooked up with Dr. Hickman, and she said, "Oh, you have an earthbound in you." She took the earthbound out, and when you take the earthbound out, you send them to the light. And that's what she did. And then the man came back to normal. So you can be influenced. You can get overlays. An overlay is just like the entity will just overlay itself on top of you from the top of your head all the way down to your feet. Another person who can see, like you, for instance, would be able to see the overlay. You would know that there's another entity that has merged with the human being. So you can have a situation like that. Earthbounds can do that. Um, and then sometimes they're ghosts. They create to be ghosts because they don't want to. Uh, they're either afraid to go to the transitional portal, or they're attached to their material things, or they just don't want to leave. They want to stay with their family, so then they can become ghosts and do different things. Now, back to your question, I gave a kind of a what I do. What I called my friend Lester one night because I got a call at about maybe 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. And there was no time for me to call Romulus, who was my partner, to come take me down in a trance and make sure I'm all right and that whole stuff. So I said, look, I got to work on this man. He's in the hospital. Having a heart attack. I don't have time to call somebody to come to my house and be with me. How do I do this by myself? I said, when I look back on it, I should have saved that piece of paper because I wrote everything down. I said, step one, step two. He's just pulling it off his head. And because I don't think he ever did it by himself either. We were always with pairs. But I found that, being in a pair wasn't advantageous to my work. So he showed
Yeah.
me, I went through that paper. I said, okay, do this, Greta. And then I did it. Do this, Greta. Then I did it. And then finally I took myself to the parent of my friend and worked on his father, stopped the heart attack, and dad went home the next day. And that was the first time I had
Nice.
done it by myself. Now to the point of what can be dangerous. I don't approach it as danger. I had a gentleman I was training to do what I do, and he said, I can't do this anymore because he took something that had jumped off of me and it jumped on him. And then I
Mm-hmm.
had to work on him, but it scared him. So he said, I'm through. I can't do this. He said, this work is dangerous. So I can't do it anymore. I said, I can understand. I said, because if you feel it's dangerous, then it's going to be dangerous for you because you're going to create that reality. And in this work, you cannot have fear in doing this work because you don't know what type of individual you're going to meet. Like once
Right.
I was working on somebody when we were partners, I had a gentleman, Ramen. he was doing the work and I was his partner to make sure he was all right. And I
Mm-hmm.
took him into trance, and then the entity was there because, see, Dr. Hickman taught us to, you can speak to the entity and say, what's your name? Why are you there? I don't do that anymore because I don't have time to do that. I've got people coming one right after the other. I got to clean you out. I'm taking it all out. And see, Dr. Hickman did not realize that you can have more than one. See, when she taught us, it was see a dark space, and then you know that that's the entity. And so you go to move the entity out. You can talk to the entity. You can see, like I said, the questions, okay? But
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. When I raw men, now this is one thing that made me nervous. I started talking because, see, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm going to do it by myself. Okay, so I said, well, who are you? It was a low vibrational being. And it said, I'm Beelzebub. So that I'm telling you, I said Beelzebub, and I'm like, okay, I've heard that word. What is that? It's the devil, type thing. Now I know there are no devils, but anyway. But at the time, I said, "Oh my God, how am I going to get him out, out? Because I can't leave Amen where he is." So I had to figure out how am I going to take this entity away from Amen because I'm supposed to protect him as well. So I don't even know what I did. but but we got him gone. I was so glad. So that was one point I said, "Whew," you know.
Right.
Another time, a friend of mine had asked me to come to her school because there was a child there that was having challenges, and she wanted to see, what the energy work doing would help him to be able to focus. It was the second grade, excuse me. And so I went to the school. Before I could get to her room, the hallway that I would have to walk through
Mm-hmm.
was all black, thick black.
Mm.
So then I stood outside of it and I said, well, I got to go through this. Now I'm by myself. Okay. And so I said, okay, I got to go through this in order to get to her classroom. So I jumped in, I just walked on in. And then that's when I saw all the other individuals that were in there. They were a
Mm.
different species. Um, they looked, um, they would look to us like they were naked. They didn't,
Mm-hmm.
you could see their skin and everything. Um, and they were skinny, very, very skinny. Maybe their arms and legs were about maybe 2 inches wide. Very kind of a big head, similar to the Greys, but if you put them next to each other, you could definitely see that they were different because you could see, where our joints are, like when the elbow comes together. Okay, I could see their elbow and everything. Okay, so it was turned out to be like they started fighting me. I don't usually do that, but that was in the beginning because I've been doing the work now for 40 years. So, if not over 40 years. But at that time, they were jumping at me. They were jumping at me to try and jump on me, and I'm pushing them off and pushing them using my feet to move them off. Well, they had an axe. The axe blade was about so big, and they took the axe. And while I was, fending off some of their friends, their relatives or whatever, they took
Right.
the axe and hit me in my back with the axe. And I remember when you're in another reality, you can still feel it. So I felt that, say, oh, something, they put that thing in my back, you know. So I
Mm-hmm.
immediately called for the realm of beings. I called for Archangel Michael. Uh, because I used to work with them a lot. Archangel Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, I worked with them a lot. I don't do as much of that now with them, but they help me in the layering process, which I'd have to discuss that another day with you, you know.
Okay, we
So,
can do that.
okay. So they pulled it out. He pulled it out, and then they had to scrape out, where they hit me.
Hmm.
They had to scrape it all out, get all that energy out. So I go in, go into the women's classroom, work with the little boy. I leave, I come back to my bedroom, right? And then I'm going, wow, my back hurts, you know. So it was still hurting me. I said, okay, guys. So I went back into trance because at that time I was coming out, going back in.
Right,
Okay, so I came out of trance, and that's so I had to go back into trance. I had to go back into that reality, and I had to say, clean me out some more because it's still hurting me, you know. And so I found out from that that was the way that they were turning me into an incubator for their species, so that when they hit me with the axe, what was in that axe were their eggs and whatever they wanted. So
oh my
they were
goodness. Okay.
they were putting them in me, that I would walk around and hatch them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I came back into that reality again, then they had to reclaim the realm. The Everybody was in there cleaning me out until they got me out. And then I was able to come back to my bedroom, and then I knew I was okay because I didn't feel it anymore. So they had gotten their eggs or however out of me. Hmm. So
Wow.
I got a lot of more of them though. But when you
Yeah.
asked me for that, I said, okay, I'll tell you that one. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I'm used to it now. So, and then, like I said, I don't see it as dangerous because, like I told the gentleman that I was training, soon as you see it dangerous, then you got to stop. You got to stop because they don't play. There's some of them, they do not play with you. And they know that I don't play with them either. So there we go. Yeah. So that's just some of the work I do.
Yeah. 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 I'm trying to get all of this information, like of what to do when you go in investigations and what different types of beings people have ran into. I feel like I've come across a few cryptids.
Mm.
Um,
What do
so
they look like?
well, well, the first one I got was a sound in my front yard. I'm sitting outside. It's summertime
Mhm.
and just out there relaxing and enjoying the night out there. And all of a sudden, I started hearing this sound. I'm not sure if it was Bigfoot or what, but I don't do it justice, but the volume just kind of goes, or the tone just goes all over the place. So it's just kind of kind of thing. It was like all over the place. And it wasn't a dog, it wasn't no coyote, it wasn't no fox. Like they make a whole lot of noise that I know of. Never heard one. Um, Nothing that I knew of. And no dogs
Mm.
around our area at that time were barkers. So none of the dogs were barking or anything. So it was the strangest thing. And I was just like, okay, I don't know enough about this stuff. So I'm going to head inside and you have a good night. you know, I'll let you go. I'm going to head on inside. But that's my first kind of one. And then last summer or summer before, losing track now, but on my way to work, I had like this bird that went from underneath my car up. and went with the contour of the car. But
Wow.
the wings were out. This is the weird part. The wings were out and never flapped.
Mm,
So it went from underneath my car, and I saw no bird or anything in on the road prior to this. But it was wings out, coming up from underneath and following the contour of the car, and never flapped. But it was big enough to where it covered my full windshield.
wow.
And
Yeah.
I like I say, I don't know. The weirdest thing about it was it didn't flap, and I don't recall seeing feet on it. It was just like the body and the wings, and the body of it was white with the brown speckles. So I don't know if it could have been a hawk or what, but you would think hawks would flap to get themselves up and over, right?
Right, right, right.
So that was kind of a weird one. And 2 weeks ago, I'm going to work and I see these two eyes glowing, red glowing eyes. That right there told me something wasn't right. It wasn't any animal.
Absolutely.
Right. And they were about the distance apart as like a car lane. So it was a distance between. And they were going across the street, but they were like bouncing together like this. And
Mm,
I'm trying to figure out exactly where it was and everything, but going in for that moment, it seemed like all the lights went out. My headlights went out, the street lights went out, and I mean it was very close. I'm re-looking at it, trying to figure this out, and it could have been going straight across the road, but there's like a ditch on that side of the road, so they were either just further than I thought they were, because then there's some flat
mhm,
road and they were like this going across, but they went straight. There was no dipping going down into the ditch
mhm.
that's right there.
Wow.
So I'm trying to kind of figure that out, but I know I'm like, okay, that's not normal. And I hope everybody's animals are inside, no dogs outside.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah, yeah. See, that was another species. And you know what tickles me is especially there's a whole big push for extra. I don't like calling them aliens and I don't like calling them extraterrestrials. I just call them individuals.
I'm calling
And
them beans now.
yeah, yep,
They're
yep.
beans.
Right. And people don't realize, see, they're waiting for these big spaceships to come, you know, and visit. And I'm going, you guys don't realize they're right here with us, for God's sake. And they're walking around. It's just that you can't, some of us can see them and some of us can't. That's all. But they're right here,
They're right
you
here. And
know.
you're talking to one, you know?
Yeah, for real, for real. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It just, it's just wild when it just tickles me when I hear it and they said they're coming, down. But I was taken, I don't usually but I feel comfortable enough to say that here. I was coming last year in February from the consciousness uh time zone, not consciousness life. Um and I was on my flight. I think I go Southwest. So I was on my way back to Chicago from Los Angeles, and I shut my eyes and I saw nothing but because I usually sleep on the way,
Uh-huh.
and I saw total blackness and I said, okay, where am I? I am not on the plane. I said, somebody has taken me off this plane because it's just total black. When you close your eyes, it's kind of like you can see some little bit of light, coming through
Right.
your eyes. It's right. Well, this was just totally black, absolutely black. And so when at that time, I did not know it was blocked from me to know where I was. I'm going to tell you, I did find out though. But then when I woke up, I was disoriented. And I sat there and I realized the stewardess was walking up. I had missed the snacks. Sometimes I eat the
Mhm.
snacks, sometimes I don't, but I miss the snacks. And then I miss the garbage pickup, and I'm going, how long have I been gone? The trip from Los Angeles to Chicago can take about 4 hours, depending on the wind streams, I guess.
Mhm.
And I had to have been gone for quite a while, for over 3 hours, because the pilot was saying, we'll be in Chicago, we'll be landing in Chicago in a few minutes. And I'm going, okay, I just got back. And they put me back on the plane, and I needed to, when I thought about it, I said, I want to know where I was. I saw myself sitting at a table with other sentient beings, you know, but we were in a meeting. They took me off and put me in a meeting. My friend, Cynthia tells me, she said, Greta, there was on the internet, this man had taken pictures of two battleships, space battleships that were floating over California. And I said, oh, so as soon as she said that, it triggered a memory. And I remember I was on one of those ships and I was in a meeting with some of the other beings. And I was given instructions about what I was supposed to do when I got back. So, and I followed through with that it took about a week. And then I said, oh, I got to do this, so I felt that this is the work I have to do. So, yeah. So that's what I did with that. Yeah. So, but there's so many different types of beings. There's the species that I told you that scratches. There's a different type of species like her. I met both of them in a portal. I go into portals because some people can wind up in portals, and I have to go in and get them. And I'll tell your audience how you know you're in a portal is if you have had a nightmare. It'll appear like a nightmare, or you were in a dream that was very scary. When you're like that, you're a 97% chance that you were taken and put in a portal. And a portal is another space of reality where that particular species resides. So they brought you into their space. And I
So
have to
when
go
you're
in.
so when you're in this portal, do the beings look like human?
No,
Okay.
no. Humans are basically here. Now there's an encyclopedia. I wish I should have brought it. Next time I'll pull it out. It might be behind me in my bookshelf, but it's an almanac and he talks about the different species. But I don't necessarily like it, what it is, but it shows different species. But most of the species don't look human. I have not met another species that looks like us, other than us. Most of the species I deal with, even the Pleiadians. I don't think I've really met a Pleiadian, uh, in their purest form of their being. Um, I've never seen that. I meet all kinds of others, but I don't usually know their names. Some people are able to say, okay, well, this is a Hawthorne, this is a reptilian, this is a Pleiadian, this is an Arcturian. There's some
Yeah.
people that just can do things like that. I just don't happen I'm not one that can do that. I can't say that you're a Hawthorne. I can't even at the moment even tell you what a Hawthorne looks like. But I do
Yeah.
know most of the people, most not people, but most of the individuals that I deal with, they don't look human, but they are very highly um, scientific and intellectual, you know. When I come next time, I'll talk about my marriage to my husband. He's reptilian, and I'll talk to you about that. You know, how I came to marry a reptilian, and I met another lady and she told me that her husband was reptilian, but he's humanoid. I said, no, mine's not humanoid. He's full reptilian, you know. So that was an interesting experience as well. But the work that I do entails for me not to be afraid of anything and to move with unconditional love of everything. I've been in battles, space battles, but I don't go out to say, okay, I'm going to kill you, or I hate you, or I'm going to hurt you. That's not how we deal with it. How we deal with that is by just giving you unconditional love. The unconditional love is stronger energy than me saying, I'm going to beat you up.
Right.
That is low vibration. It's less, it doesn't have any strength or power. The power is in unconditional love, and that's when I go into battle. That's all I give. I just send unconditional love, and I send it at the highest frequency, which is a rose-colored energy, really strong. Yeah, and that's how I deal with the species, especially when I have to go into portals and take people out. And next time I come, we'll talk about portals and we'll talk about the reptilian, my marriage. I got 13 kids with that man, well, he's not a man, he's with that male, but he's really he was a wonderful father. I have to tell you about that experience. Yeah. And I have a human
Awesome.
husband here who's in this house with me. Yeah. So I have 13 children that are Arcturian, human, and reptilian. And I have one daughter who is basically, I know she's something else as well, probably Arcturian, but she's presenting herself here as human. Yeah. So,
Very cool.
yeah, I'll tell you about that.
Very cool. Yeah. I'm being told I have the Marian in me. I have
Mm.
a mantis gray,
Oh,
and there's one more in there. I can't remember, but yeah. So that's what
wow.
I'm being
See, we
told.
don't
So
know. Yeah, yeah. That's that, if you've told that, how I found out that I was Arcturian, I didn't even know that. I just, I'll have to tell that story. But when I shapeshift, I'm only a ball about 2 inches in diameter, and that ball can go down to a microscopic level as well. And so I shapeshift, but I don't. The only time I was talking to a group of people in Dallas about 3 weeks ago, I was there talking, and I told them, I said, I am Arcturian. I said, but I don't know my name. I don't know how to speak the language. I don't know where on Arcturus I came from. I don't know what my parents are or how I was born, quote unquote born. I don't know any of that. I said, because my task here is to be human. I am human. I am an Arcturian expressing myself in humanness so that I can do the work that I agreed to do when I came here. So the only time that I'm allowed to use it is when I have to shapeshift. And I don't shapeshift until I'm doing a task that this physical body that I'm in does not hold a lot of energy. My Arcturian body, even though it's a little small ball, holds more energy than this human body. So sometimes I have to shapeshift in order to do the work. So I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to clone myself. Like I can split myself up when I go into, like if I was going into your body, Dana, and I had to check out your cells. Well, you know, you have trillions of cells. So I can split myself up into trillions of Grettas, and Greta will be in each one of your cells doing work. So I'm allowed to do that. But those are the main two things that I can do. Yeah.
That's
But other
amazing.
than that, I'm human with everybody else.
I have to ask, is that something that you would be able to show us?
You
The
probably wouldn't
shape
be able to see
shifting.
it. You could
Okay.
probably see it. Um, because I do it in another reality, not this reality here. And that's what I like to talk
Absolutely.
about too, when I come back, is to talk about reality. Because see, the realm teaches me everything I learned after Dr. Hickman taught me how to go remote, not remote viewing, because it's a big difference from remote viewing. But
Okay.
everything else I'm taught by the realm of beings. So one thing they taught me was that dimensions are a humanoid construct. And they're actually true because when you go off world, nobody knows what you're talking about. If I say, well, I'm
Right.
on the third dimension, they're just going to look at me and say, what? What are you saying? What is that? You know,
Right.
so when they tell me that it's a construct, I say, okay, all right, so dimensions are a construct. So what am I supposed to use now? And they told me we want you to use realities. Oh man. Dana, when they took me from that whole conceptualization of that there are dimensions into realities, all of my work changed. And I'm
Wow.
love to share that with you another day, you and the audience. I would love it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll get you back on and we'll talk about more of this because this is really fascinating, really a lot of good information. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been enjoying it. And we're at an hour already.
I know. I know
It
there's a
goes
lot.
so fast. It
Yeah,
goes
it
so
did.
fast. Yeah.
It
So,
did.
wow.
It did. Yeah.
Do you
Thank you,
have
Dan.
any words to say to everybody that for this um, session with you?
I would like to tell everybody about our album that we have. Myself, The Realm of Beings, and Danielle Heiss. She did the singing bowls on it. It's the writings that were channeled to me by the Realm of Beings, and I speak the words. But did you get a copy of it? Did Tony send you a copy of that? I don't think he did. I'm going to ask him to send you one. It's in a black, the album is a black cover with like a silver circle and the words in silence in capital letters. It's a plain cover.
I'll have to look back in the emails and
Yeah,
check.
see,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to check with him too because I'd like you to have a copy of it. You're going to enjoy it. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, on other streaming devices. Um,
Okay.
those people who don't have a prescription, a subscription with that, you can go on YouTube and put my name, Gretta Chamberlain, and then put In Silence album or just In Silence, and it'll come up. Uh,
Okay.
and it's a healing thing because of sound, the sound of the bowls, the sound of my voice, the sound of the words, and so it's really, really a wonderful piece. And
Okay.
people can find me on just email me. Gretta Chamberlain at gmail.com. We're working on a new website, so when that's finished, I'll be able to share that with you. But we're working on a whole new concept. So, but
Nice.
to do the Gmail, that's great. That's great. If anybody wants to talk to me about doing any work for them or they want to ask me some questions, I don't have that much time, just to answer questions. But text me, everybody calls me on the number 773-633-1069. But
All right.
text me. Yeah, and say, Greta, I need to talk to you, hey, yeah.
There you go. And we'll leave the information down below in the notes below.
Okay.
So
All right.
they'll have all that information. So no problem. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I really had a great time and can't wait to have you back on the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Dana. I can't wait to get back. And we're going to share
Yeah,
some
lots
more
to tell.
stories.
Yeah. I've got more stories myself, but
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
you have stories too. So all right. Well, awesome. So we'll see you next time. And if there's anybody else out there that has any stories you would like to share, email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com. And we'll talk with everybody next time. All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.